All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
What's up, everybody? Big Marley 3 from SHIPIT Nation here to break down the Week 4 NFL Tiers Slate for you guys. Before we get into that, I want to mention that we have a 5-day trial over at SHIPITNation.com for only $19. You get to test out everything we have to offer except for our Discord. So get in there now and crush this Week 4 slate with us. Once you sign up, you will get access to this 4-hour educational video from our guys Hoop and Tambo. They are two of the best in the industry, and they're giving away all their secrets in this 4-hour video. Hoop talks about winning the Millie Maker last year, which was in Week 4, by the way, and Tambo crushes qualifiers and live finals. So he talks about his strategies for those, along with a bunch of other great information to help you guys become better DFS players. Also, this show is brought to you guys by Drafters. I built 150 best ball teams this year on Drafters, and it was an awesome site to draft on. They also have weekly pick'em contests available for each sport. Go over there, sign up with promo code SHIPIT, and they will match your first deposit up to $100. They also have an NBA best ball contest out that you guys can start drafting in right now. All right, let's jump into tiers. Last week, your boy took down the big tiers contest for $20,000. I ended up stacking up the Chargers with a 3-man stack. And then I also stacked up the Dolphins with a 3-man team stack. And then if you guys watched our best ball videos this offseason, you would know that Walker and Madison were two of my highest owned running backs. So I threw in Madison as my Chargers run back in this lineup. And then I used Walker as my only one-off play. And I ended up shipping the 20K solo. Madison wasn't even the highest scoring guy in tier 8. Zach Moss scored 8 more points. So you didn't even have to have the nuts to win $20,000 on this slate, thankfully, because I didn't have much Zach Moss personally. But that's how I like to build my lineups every single week. I'm not always making 3-man stacks, but I am always stacking my quarterback in tier 1, and I'm always stacking my quarterback in tier 5. And then if there are some run back plays that I like, I'll throw them in. And then if there's a single one-off tier, sometimes I'll just duplicate that lineup a couple times, and I'll use whatever different plays I'm using in that tier from my player pool that is posted over at SHIPITNation.com. All right, let's jump into this week. This week we have a tough tier 1, but I will be probably using all 4 of these guys, and I'll be stacking them up. They do have limited stack options this week, though, so I'll be looking to narrow down my player pool in other tiers, and we can also get different in our tier 5 stacks as well. But this week, we have Justin Herbert in tier 1. His only stack partner is going to be Keenan Allen in tier 2. He did see 20 targets last week, though, and now he doesn't have to worry about sharing targets with Mike Williams, who was out for the season. RIP to all my Mike Williams best ball shares. That's a sad one, but thankfully he won me $20,000 last week, so it's all good. We also have Tua in tier 1. His stack partner is going to be Tyreek Hill in tier 2. He's averaging just over 32 points per game. He also has Mostert in tier 3 and Achane in tier 8. Those guys absolutely crushed it last week, combining for 99 DraftKings points in that 70-point win. I'd be fine throwing either of those guys in my Tua stacks, but I prefer to use them in my non-Tua lineups, hoping that they get the touchdowns instead. Then we have Jalen Hurts. His stack partners are both in tier 4. We have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in this tier. A.J. Brown will be the more popular option of the two after going for 131 yards last week on 14 targets. So if you want to be a bit more contrarian, you can use Smith there instead. He has just as big of a ceiling, so I'm fine with that move, and I might prefer it just because of the lower ownership. Then they also have DeAndre Swift in tier 6. And he's looked great this season. He has rushed for over 300 yards the last 2 weeks. I like him more for my non-Jalen Hurts lineups, but I'm also fine stacking those guys up and just hoping to lock up all the Eagles' offensive touchdowns with those two players there. And then we have Josh Allen, who has the highest team total of this tier at 28.25. And he has Stephon Diggs in tier 3. And then he also has James Cook available in tier 7 that we can stack with or use him in our non-Allen lineups. Over in tier 5, we have some rushing quarterbacks like Fields and Lamar who can get there with their legs and don't really need to be stacked. They don't even have any stack options available on this tier slate, though, so I will be Xing them out personally and just dealing with these guys who do have the stack options here. We have Deshaun Watson, who had his best passing game of the season last week, but he did pop up on the injury report this week with a shoulder injury. If he plays, I'm not against using him, and he does have Amari Cooper in tier 7, who had a big week last week, hitting that 100-yard bonus. The plays I like the most, though, are Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, and Joe Burrow. Cousins has one of the best wide receivers in the league in Justin Jefferson to stack with in tier 2. He also has TJ Hawkinson in tier 7, and he had 11 targets last week. I'm fine using both of those guys stacked with Cousins, but I would prefer just one of them in my lineup if Cousins is not in tier 5. And then we also have Alexander Madison in tier 8, who could be stacked with them or used as direct leverage off of him. And I do expect Kirk Cousins to be a popular play in tier 5 this week. Then we have Dak Prescott, who has CD Lamb in tier he's in tier 4 this week. And then he also has a workhorse running back in Tony Pollard, who is in tier 3. I'm fine stacking him with either or both of those guys. And then Joe Burrow is dealing with a calf injury, but he did pass 49 times last week, and the Bengals are going against the Titans' pass funnel defense this week. He has Jamar Chase in tier 3. He also has T. Higgins in tier 6. And then he has Joe Mixon in tier 7, who should be low owned in that tough matchup. I do think that tier 7 is the toughest tier of the week, though. If you can let me know your favorite play in tier 7 in the comments below, that would be awesome. But I might end up just sticking to stacks and mini stacks personally, unless you guys can change my mind in the comments. And then once I get my stacks figured out, most of my lineup is already built for me. And then I can just plug in my favorite plays around that. If you guys need projections or just want to know how I'm attacking each tier, go over to SHIPITNation.com. Sign up for that 5-day trial. $19 gets you everything we have to offer except for the Discord. And that 4-hour course alone is worth the $19. So go test it out. We think you guys will want to stick around. I will be back, though, with an afternoon and primetime slate breakdown. If you guys can hit that like and subscribe button for us, it really helps out. Good luck in tiers this week. I hope to see some SHIPIT logos up top. Thanks for listening. Go ship something. We'll see you next week.